Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a closer look at a market maybe you don't think about every day.
Nightwear.
Exactly, the global nightwear market. We're digging into the Global Nightwear Market Report 2025 outlook from Cognitive Market Research. And our mission, really, is to sift through all that data, pull out the key takeaways, maybe some surprising facts.
Let's see what it tells us about bigger trends.
Right, what this sort of quiet giant reveals about us.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is how something seemingly simple, like pajamas, can actually be a lens.
Lens, how so?
Well, it reflects broader patterns, economic shifts, how lifestyles are changing, consumer priorities globally.
So it's more than just sleepwear.
Much more. It touches on comfort, self-care trends, even maybe how much importance we're placing on our home lives now.
Okay, interesting. So let's get into the big picture first, the global numbers.
Let's do it.
This market, well, it's definitely not small. It hit 24,609.1 million US dollars back in 2021.
So over $24.6 billion, already significant.
Exactly. And here's the thing. It's not just growing. It's set for a pretty big jump.
Right.
They're projecting it to rise to over 30.5 billion US dollars by 2025.
Wow, that's quite soon.
Yeah, and then push up to an impressive 47.2 billion US dollars by 2033.
Okay, so almost doubling from 2021.
Right, and that works out to a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR, of 5.59% over that whole period, 2021 to 2033.
And that 5.59% CAGR, that's a really important figure.
Why is that?
Well, it's not just a blip, right? Such consistent growth over more than a decade. It implies the industry is fundamentally healthy, robust.
So steady demand.
Sustained, reliable consumer demand. It suggests nightwear isn't really seen as a disposable luxury anymore.
More like a staple.
Exactly, an essential part of, daily comfort, personal well-being. It shows how much we value comfort, even when, perhaps, economic times get a bit tougher.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, you mentioned regional differences earlier. This is where it gets really interesting, right?
Absolutely. The global average is one thing, but the regional breakdown tells different stories.
And the standout region seems to be Asia-Pacific, leading the charge, as the report says.
It really is, almost like it's on a totally different trajectory.
So what are the numbers showing there?
It's quite dramatic. Asia-Pacific was already valued at nearly 7.8 billion US dollars in 2021.
Okay.
But it's projected to hit almost 10.2 billion in 2025, and then a massive 16.9 billion by 2033.
Whoa. That's more than double the 2021 figure.
Precisely. And that gives it the fastest regional PGR globally, over 6.5%. 6.558% to be exact.
Okay, so what's driving that kind of growth? Is it just one country?
Well, China is obviously a huge factor, dominant. Its market was about 2.8 billion in 2021, projected to hit 6.2 billion by 2033. That's a strong TGR of nearly 6.9%.
Still very high.
Very high. But, and this is really eye-opening, look at India.
India
India is showing the strongest performance globally. The highest TGR in the world for nightwear at over 7%, 7.129%.
Over 7%. What does that signal?
It's likely a combination of things. A rapidly growing middle class, definitely. More disposable income. Maybe a cultural shift, too, placing more value on personal comfort, maybe even home style. Plus, you've got the explosion of e-commerce making products more accessible.
So India's market is set to grow from about 1.4 billion to over 3.2 billion.
Exactly. More than doubling. It's a really dynamic story.
And it's not just China and India, right?
No, not at all. Japan shows strong growth, too. A KGR around 6.4%, also projected to more than double its market size.
Okay.
And Australia is another strong performer, surprisingly high KGR there at nearly 6.8%.
Oh.
Then you have solid contributions from places like Singapore, Southeast Asia generally, Taiwan, all growing nicely above 5.7%. It paints a picture of really broad-based, powerful expansion across the region.
That really is a picture of rapid change in Asia-Pacific. So let's shift focus westward, North America and Europe. What's their story? More steady.
Steady is a good word. Stable, strong contributors. Their growth rates aren't quite as, explosive as Asia-Pacific's, but these are very large, established markets showing consistent performance.
So what are we seeing in North America?
North America clocked in at about 6.8 billion US dollars in 2021.
Okay.
And it's projected to grow steadily to over 12.4 billion by 2033. That's a CAGR of just over 5.1%. solid.
And the U.S. is the main driver there, I assume?
Predictably, yes.
Yeah.
The U.S. market was $5.4 billion in 2021, heading towards $9.8 billion by 2033, a CGR just over 5%.
Still significant growth.
Absolutely. And Canada's doing well, too. Slightly higher TGR, actually, around 5.5%. Mexico also showing consistent growth, around 5.3%.
So what does this steady growth in a mature market tell us?
It suggests less about sort of first-time adoption and more about deep, reliable demand. Comfort is entrenched. Perhaps trends like remote work, spending more time at home, these reinforce that steady demand for comfortable apparel.
Makes sense. And Europe, similar picture.
Very similar in terms of market size and trajectory. Europe generated about $6.25 billion US dollars in 2021.
Okay.
And it's expected to climb to over $12.35 billion by 2033. Actually, a slightly higher EGR than North America, close to 5.9%, 5.866% specifically.
Interesting. Any standouts within Europe?
Germany actually shows the highest growth in the region, projected to more than double its market by 2033, with a CAGR over 6.2%.
Okay.
But you also see really robust, consistent expansion in the big markets like the UK, France, Italy. They're all in that healthy 5.5% to 6.2% CVAR range.
So comfort is king across Europe, too.
It certainly seems so. And it's not just the big economies, Russia, Spain. They're showing good growth around 6%. Even smaller markets like Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, Luxembourg are chipping in with CAGRs well over 5.5%.
So Asia-Pacific is the sprinter, maybe. North America and Europe are running a strong, consistent marathon.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay, what about the other regions? South America and the Middle East, the report mentions more modest growth there.
That's right. Still positive, but definitely a slower pace. South America stood at about $1.6 billion US dollars in 2021.
Right.
Expected to rise to nearly $2.3 billion by 2033. That's a CAGR of around 3.2%.
Much slower.
Significantly lower, yes. Brazil leads the continent, growing steadily but reflecting that overall slower regional pace. It might point to different economic conditions, maybe retail infrastructure isn't as developed for this specific segment yet, or simply different consumer priorities.
And the Middle East?
A bit more dynamic than South America. It recorded about $1.5 billion in 2021,
Okay.
and it's projected to expand to over $2.45 billion by 2033. The CGR there is healthier, over 4.2%.
So faster than South America, but still below the global average.
Exactly. Saudi Arabia is a major contributor. And interestingly, Turkey shows the highest growth in that region, with a TGR over 4.6%.
What might be behind that?
Again, likely rising disposable incomes in parts of the region, maybe a growing influence of global lifestyle trends, focusing on comfort and home life.
Okay. That leaves one region, Africa. The report highlights a very different trend there.
Yes. Africa shows the slowest growth by quite a margin.
What are the numbers?
The market was valued at just under $640 million US dollars in 2021.
Relatively small compared to others.
Very. And it's projected to grow quite modestly to about $772 million by 2033. That translates to the lowest CAGR globally, just 1.3% roughly.
Wow, just over 1%.
Yeah, 1.298%. South Africa is the largest market within the continent, but even its growth is slow, around 1.4%. Nigeria is similar, around 1.25%.
So what does that tell us?
It likely reflects broader economic challenges, perhaps lower average disposable incomes compared to other regions, maybe different cultural norms around sleepwear, or simply that the market focus is elsewhere for now. It really highlights that the global trend isn't uniform.
Okay, so pulling it all together, what are the main takeaways from this whole global picture?
Well, I think the big story is that contrast, isn't it? The overall global market is healthy, growing steadily.
Right, that 5.59% CAGR.
Exactly. But underneath that average, you have this incredible engine in Asia-Pacific, especially India and China, really driving a huge amount of that expansion. That's where the dynamic shift is happening.
Fueled by economic development and changing habits.
Precisely. Then you have the established giants, Europe and North America, performing consistently well. Mature markets, solid demand.
The marathon runner.
The marathon runners, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other regions showing slower, but still mostly positive progress, reflecting their own unique economic and cultural contexts.
So the diverse growth rates really tell a story about
What?
spending habits, culture.
I think all of the above. Varying consumer spending power, the cultural importance placed on comfort or home apparel, the maturity of retail channels. it all plays a part in shaping how this market looks so different from region to region.
It's definitely more complex than just selling pajamas.
Absolutely. It's a window into how different parts of the world are developing and what people are prioritizing.
So, thinking about our listener,
Mm-hmm.
what does all this mean for you listening in?
Yeah, why should you care about Nightwear stats?
Right. Well, whether you're maybe in business, perhaps looking at consumer goods or retail,
Or maybe an investor looking for growth areas.
or even if you're just, curious about global trends and how economies are shifting.
Hmm.
These numbers offer a really clear snapshot. It shows where this whole category of comfort, personal apparel, loungewear maybe, where it's headed globally.
And it reveals those underlying currents, the economic and cultural factors driving these changes.
It really is fascinating how much you can unpack from one specific market report.
It is.
Well, we hope you found this deep dive into the Global Nightwear Market Report insightful. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for listening. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Considering these strong projections, especially in Asia-Pacific, and this global focus on comfort,
Yes.
it makes you wonder, doesn't it? How might the lines between nightwear and loungewear continue to blur? And how could evolving ideas about working from home, self-care, maybe even sustainability, how might those trends reshape this market in perhaps unexpected ways over the next decade? Something to think about.